Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to read this ghazal, inshallah. Rastam ازین nafs hawa, zinde bela, murde bela. Alive by no and dead by no. Or you could read it as zinde bala, murde bala. Trial, tribulation in life and in death. And the reason for all tribulation, the reason for all trials is this nafs, this ego. And Maulana says, I've escaped from this nafs. So yeah, let's, inshallah, we'll read the Persian and then the English, and then we'll...
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. رستم ازین نفس و هوا، زنده بلا مرده بلا، زنده و مرده و تنم نیست به جز فضل خدا. رستم ازین بیت و غزل، ای رو سلطان ازل، مفتعلا کشت مرا. قافیه و مغلطه را گو همه سیلاب ببر. پوست بود در خور مغز شعرا. ای خموشی مغز منی، پرده آن نغز منی. کمتر فضل خموشی کش نبود خوف و رجا. برده ویران نبود عشر زمین، کوچ و قلان. مست و خرابم مطلب در سخنم نقد و خطا. تا که خرابم نکند کی دهد آن گنج به من، تا که به سیلم ندهد کی گشدم بحر عطا. مرد سخن را چه خبر از خموشی همچو شکر. خشک چه داند چه بود ترتللا. آینه مرد مقالات نم. دیده شود حال من از من، ار چشم شود گوش شما. دست فشانم چو شجر، چرخ زنان همچو قمر. چرخ من از رنگ زمین، پاک در از چرخ سما. عارف گوینده بگو تا که دعای تو کنم، چون که خوش و مست شوم هر سحری وقت دعا. دلقی من و خرفه من از تو دریغی نبود. وان که ز سلطان رسدم نیم مرا نیم تو را. از کف سلطان رسدم ساغر و سغراق قدم. چشمه خورشید بود جرأه او را چه گدا. من خموشم خسته گلو عارف گوینده بگو. زان که تو داوود دمی من چکاهم رفت ز جا. I have escaped from this ego and desire. Alive is a trial, dead is a trial. My home, living or dead, is nowhere but in the grace of God. I have escaped from this verse and ghazal, O King and Sultan of pre-eternity. The meter of Muftailun has slain me. Till the flood to carry away rhyme and sophistry, they are but the husk fit for the marrow of poets. O silence, you're my essence, you're the veil of that subtle beauty of mine. The least merit of silence is that it knows neither fear nor hope. On a ruined village there is no land tax, migration or tribute. I am drunk and ruined, seek no critique or error in my speech. Until he ruins me, how shall he grant me that treasure? Until he surrenders me to the flood, how shall the sea of bounty pull me in? What news does the man of words have of silence sweet as sugar? What does the dry soul know of the melody? Tra-la-la, tra-la-la. I am a mirror, I'm not a man of discourse. My state will be seen if your ear becomes an eye. I wave my hand like a tree, whirling like the moon. My orbit is purer than the wheel of heaven from the colors of the earth. Always speaking mystic, speak on, so that I may pray for you. For I become joyful and drunk every dawn at the hour of prayer. My tattered cloak and dervish robe would never be withheld from you. And what reaches me from the Sultan, half is for me and half is for you. From the Sultan's palm the goblet and the eternal vessel reach me. The fountain of the sun is like a beggar for a single drop of it. I'm silent and my throat is weary. O speaking mystic, speak on, for you You have the breath of David, and I, like the mountain, have been moved from my place.
رستم از این نفس و هوا مرده بلا زنده بلا زنده بلا مرده بلا زنده و مرده وطنم نیست به جز فضل خدا. Now Maulana says, Rastam, I have escaped, I have fled from two things, nafs, greed, ego, and hawa, again, desire, that comes from the nafs, the whims, the fleeting whims of the nafs. And when you're a prisoner to your nafs, you're always in this limbo, zande bala, murde bala. You're not here, you're not there. Alive is a trial, dead is a trial. You're trapped in this I, in this ego, in this prison. Now Maulana says, whether I'm dead or alive, zende wa murde vatanam neest bejuz fazl khuda. My homeland is the bounty of Allah. My homeland is the bounty of God. The watan, the homeland, is always God for Maulana. It's always being close to God. That's what's meant by homeland. When Maulana says homeland, he means God. And that's, when he comments on the hadith that says, loving your homeland is part of faith. So many people take that to mean, oh yes, if you're from Nayshabur, you should love Nayshabur, or if you're from Herat, you should love Herat. That's homeland. If you're from Samarkand, you should love Samarkand. Or these days they take it to mean you should love your nation, right? And that's fine. You can love, yes, it's okay to love Nayshabur. It's okay to love, Tajikistan or Afghanistan or India or Pakistan or whatever nation you belong to. That's fine, but that's not your watan. That's not where you come from. Maulana says, همچنین حب وطن باشد درست. Loving your homeland, that's correct. تو وطن بشناس ای خواجه نخست. But first thing you must do is to know what your homeland is. گر وطن خواهی نگر آن سویشت. If you want your homeland, you should look at the other side of the river. So the other side of the river of existence. In hadith راست را کم خوان غلط. Do not misinterpret this true hadith. Yes, you should love your homeland, but the homeland is inna lillah. We come from God, we go back to God. So that's the homeland. Now here Maulana says, I have no other homeland other than the grace of God. That's my homeland. And for the true Arif, it doesn't matter whether you're here or there. It's just like this world is a prison. It doesn't matter if you're this corner of the prison or the other corner of the prison. The location doesn't matter. What matters is where your heart is. Where is your heart? Anywhere in the world, you remember Allah, you're in your homeland. Anywhere in the world you may be, the moment you say Allah, Allah, you're home. You're at home. So I have no other homeland. That's what Maulana is saying. رستم از این بیت و غزل ای شه و سلطان ازل مفتعل 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 کشت مرا. Another thing I've escaped from, another thing I have nothing to do with is poetry. Maulana is interesting. Except for Sa'ib Tabrizi, he's the poet that has the most number of poems in the Persian language. And yet despite that, he says, I have nothing to do with poetry. Man az kuja, she'r az kuja. Likin be man dar midamat. I have nothing to do with poetry, but he's breathing into me. The flute player is breathing into me. So it's not me who's chasing poetry. It's not me who's looking for rhymes. No, I'm being breathed into. So Maulana says, I've escaped from poetry. I have nothing to do with poetry. In Fihi Mafihi, he says, there was nothing more disgraceful than poetry in our town. But I find that the people in this land in Anatolia, they love poetry. And I'm just like that host who is preparing tripe, and that's, disgusting, preparing tripe. But I do that. I have no appetite for it. I have no appetite for rhymes. I care about the content, not the container. That's what I care most about. Now Maulana says, Mufta'ilun, 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 kosht mara. This rhymes, they're killing me. because I'm thinking of something else. قافیه اندیشم و دلدار من، گویدم مندیش جز دیدار من. I'm thinking about rhymes, but my beloved is telling me, do not think of anything else. Just think of دیدار من, vision, being with me. That's all you need to care about. That's all you need to focus on. And the next verse, قافیه و مغلطه را گو همه سیلاب ببر. پوست بود در خور مغز شعرا. Let the flood take all of this wordplay and sophistry and rhymes. This is all husk. This is all the skin. So if you know Maulana as a poet, you don't know Maulana at all. Because all you're concerned with is the husk. All you're concerned with is the skin. If you think Maulana is a poet. But if you care about the fruit inside, if you care about the walnut inside of the walnut, not just the outer skin, that's the ulul albab, the people of the kernel. And Maulana says the poets do not understand this. Pust بود در خور مغز شعرا. You know, just like max can have two meanings. It means brain, but it also means the spiritual essence. And Maulana is using this, the double meaning here. The poets, and by which he means profane poets, not people like Attar, not people like Maulana, not people like Sana'i who are spiritual poets. No, the profane poets, they only care about skin. They only care about the outer layer. They don't care about meaning. For people like Maulana and others, the poets who are also sages, who are also saints, the poetry is secondary. What matters is the content, is the meaning. ای خموشی مغز منی، پرده آن نغز منی، کمتر فضل خموشی کش نبود خوف و رجا. Maulana says, my marrow, my essence is silence. All my words come from silence and go back to silence. Silence. Khamush was also one of, some people say, one of the pen names of Maulana. But regardless, he ends most of his ghazals with Khamush, be silent. Because the least merit of silence is it knows neither fear nor hope. Everything we say, it's hope and fear in this duality. But silence is beyond duality, it's oneness. And that's why Maulana says the dua of the sincere is silence. There are people whose prayer is silence. You know, there are people who ask God for things. I want this in this world. I want this in the other world. Oh God, save me from hellfire. Oh God, save me from tribulation. That's the prayer. That's words. But there is the prayer of silence. There are people whose prayer is just acceptance, just rida. That's beyond all of that, beyond all of hope, beyond hope and fear. That's the prayer of the silent. It's the silent ones. Then Maulana says, بر ده ویران نبود قشر زمین کوچ و قلم. A ruined village. Now imagine a village that's been destroyed by war or by flood. There is no tax imposed on that village because there is no wealth. And Maulana says, I'm that ruined village. Meaning I've ruined the ego. I've ruined the village of my ego. And this is why the Sufi commentators, the verse in the Quran, the ayah in the Quran that says, إِنَّ الْمُلُوكَ إِذَا دَخَلُوا قَرْيَةً أَفْسَدُوهَا. When the kings enter a village or enter a town, they ruin that village. And the Sufi commentators, they say that this is the love of God. When the love of God enters a heart, it ruins that heart. It ruins that self-importance, that ego. That's all gone. So I'm a ruined village. And what happens is treasures are always found in ruins. But that's the spiritual treasures. Now Maulana is saying, you come to me, you need to realize that I am ruined. So don't come with your critique of, oh, this rhyme was not right, or this, don't look for errors. Yeah. This comes from istiqraq. This comes from being drowned. So, you know, if a person is drowning, you don't blame them if they use incorrect grammar. No, you know. So there are people who are drowned in God. They're immersed in God. So these poems, a lot of them are coming from that state of immersion, that state of absorption, that state of being drowned in God. So do not look for faults. Do not look for error. تا که خرابم نکند کی دهد آن گنج به من. And yes, Maulana is saying that treasure is found in ruins. And unless he ruins me, he will not grant me that treasure. And unless he surrenders me to the flood, تا که به سیلم ندهد کی کشدم بحر عطا. When he gives me to the flood, then the sea of bounty will pull me in. So I will be embraced by the sea. And that's why people like Maulana want to be ruined, because they realize virani abadani ast. From ruin, you come to flourishing. The more you lose, the more you gain. Death is the gateway to life. That's what they realize. You burn your house, but then you find your home in God. You find your homeland in God. It sounds like madness to those who don't realize the logic of lovers. You know, as Sa'di says, Sa'diya, نزدیک چشم عاقلان خلق مجنونند و مجنون عاقل است. Oh Sa'di, if you look at it from the point of view of lovers, everyone else is Majnun, everyone else is crazy, and Majnun is the only one who's wise. But you need a change in perspective. You need a change in how you look at things, and then you realize that.
I think from the beginning itself till now, it has been, Maulana has been saying regarding how he escaped from his self. I think there is a verse in the Masnavi. I don't get the Persian from the translation. Is that human beings must know themselves in order to escape from themselves. All other knowledge is useless. Like, to put the knowledge, put it all in a nutshell. The idea of knowing yourself is not to say that I'm great, but to escape from yourself. And that, I think, separates what you mentioned with the madmen, those who are mad and those who are sane. Like that, for example, if you take the psychological theories of modern psychology, it is the ego that has to be kept safe. That is, the well-adjusted person takes care of his ego, his self-interest. And then whatever his logic is, or even the economic man, the economic man is the person who takes care of his interests. And so he will safeguard his interests. And that is his intelligence, that is his ability. So this goes directly against that. It's just the ruin, like you mentioned, the ruining of the village is something that only probably, as you mentioned, is the logic of love, which I think he's like highlighting and then so beautifully too. That is that. And the other point which came up is that in between about his self-conscious words about his own poetry is something very fascinating. In that he's saying that muftailun, this meter, he just brings it back to his muftailun kushtumara, and then that's, I think, a very unique. And what's the one very surprising thing, that you can say probably, is that he makes no errors. He makes very few errors. Don't come to look for errors, because there aren't any. You can even read it like that, because these are words that are not coming from me. These are gifted words. And these gifts, if you come looking for errors, you won't find any. So don't come. You can read it probably that way too.
Totally, yeah. Allah. Yep. Absolutely. So now Maulana is contrasting Mard Sukhan, the people of words, and the silent ones, Khamushan. Mard Sukhan ra che khabar az khamushi hamcho shakar. خشک چه داند چه بود تر لالالا تر لالالا. The people of talk, the people who talk, how do they know the sweetness of silence? They know nothing about the sweetness of silence. You know, it's like the Taoist saying, those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. So there's a difference between talk and silence. Silence is the realized. realized knowledge. And that's sweet. That's the sugar. And that's dhawq. It's you need tasting. There's a difference between the people who talk about halwa and the people who are halwa. So, if you go to the people who talk about halwa, yes, maybe you learn something about halwa, but you don't become sweet. But if you associate with people who are halwa, their essence is sweet. Even if they don't talk, even if they don't say anything, you become sweet just by association. And that's why, words are not everything. Maulana says, the hadith that says, my companions are like stars. Ashabi kan nujum. Maulana says, do the stars talk? They talk by their nature. It's, by silence, they guide you. So yes, you can read 1,000 books on patience. You can read 1,000 books on the virtue of gratitude. You can read, there's so many books on tasawwuf and so on. But until you taste that sugar, that's all talk. That's all talk. It's just like you've been reading about sugar your whole time, and then someone comes and puts a date in your mouth, or a halwa in your mouth. Then you realize that's a realized knowledge. And Maulana says the khoshk, the dry people, dry souls, they don't understand this ecstasy. They think it's just nonsense. It's just nothing. But the people who've tasted, they realize the joy in this melody. Tar-la-la-la, tar-la-la-la. Now for others, it's just meaningless. Tar-la-la-la, tar-la-la-la. But for the people who've tasted, this melody itself is dhikrullah. This melody itself, the music itself is dhikrullah. And people like Maulana, in all the melodies, they heard dhikrullah, they heard Allah, Allah. And just like the story that Maulana is walking in the marketplace of Konya, and that goldsmiths are hammering the gold. And just that sound of hammering, Maulana goes into ecstasy and starts whirling in the marketplace. So just that sound of gold beaters pounding or hammering the gold. So that's the ecstasy, that's the joy that they find in this. But dry souls do not understand this. Now Maulana says, ya na'am, marad maqalat niyam. I'm a mirror. I am not a man of words. I'm not a man of talk. So if you want to really see me, see the true me, you need to change your perspective. Instead of ears, instead of coming to listen to me, you need to become eyes and see me. That's what you need to bring, not ears. Your ear has to become an eye. If you want to see me, you need to have sight. Now Maulana says, I've become a mirror. Now mirror, آینه زیور نمیخواهد ورا پاکی بس است. A mirror has no ornaments. A mirror has no adornments. Its only adornment is purity. Its only adornment is cleansing itself of anything else, of ma siwa Allah, of anything other than Allah. Now Maulana says, I've become a mirror of the divine attributes. They're shining in me. So if you want to see that, you need to have that eye. You need to have the spiritual sight to see me. And then dast fashanam چو شجر چرخ زنان همچو قمر. Look at me, I've waved my hands like a tree, just like a tree in spring. You see that joy in the tree. You see that joy in the nature. And you can see that in me. And you can see the whirling in all the planets. You can see the whirling in the moon. And you can see that in me as well. And my whirling is purer. My whirling does not have the color of the earth. It's not tainted by anything, any worldly desire or no. چرخ من از رنگ زمین پاکتر از چرخ سما. My whirling is purer than the whirling and the orbiting of the planets. عارف گوینده بگو تا که دعای تو کنم. Now Maulana says, O speaking mystic, عارف گوینده. Now this could be an address to Husamuddin Chalabi, or one of the close disciples of Maulana. Or it could be an address to Maulana himself. So Maulana, you have the silent Maulana and the speaking Maulana. Or it could be, Husamuddin or any of the close disciples of Maulana. So Maulana says, I will pray for you. When in the morning, early morning, in dawn, and Sahar, dawn is a very special time for Maulana. I will become drunk. Maulana says, Chun ke khush o mast shavam. I will become joyful and drunk every Sahar, every dawn, at the hour of prayer. At that time, I will pray for you. I'm not going to withhold anything from you. My cloak, my robe, anything that I get from the Sultan. And here the Sultan is, of course, the King of Kings. The Sultan is, of course, Allah Ta'ala. He says, whatever I get from the Sultan, half for me, half for you. I will share it with all of you. Because he realizes this is not a worldly treasure. If you have $50, you give half, you have half. But with spiritual treasures, no, the more you give, the more you have. Because it's infinite. These gifts are infinite. So the more I share, the more I have. The more you share light, the more your light grows and it becomes brighter and it radiates for everyone. So Maulana says, I will give it to you. I will give it to all of you. Now, what is it that I will give it to you? As Kaf Sultan Vasadam, Saghar Sakraq Qadam. I receive from the Sultan, from the hands of the Sultan, that ancient cup that is Qadam, pre-eternal. As Ibn Farid says, Sakirna biha min qabla an yukhlaq al-karmu. We were drunk with this wine before grape was created, before the grapes were created. So this is pre-eternal wine. Cheshmeh khurshid bobad jur'ay ura chugeda. And even the sun begs for this, for a single drop of this wine. So the light of the sun is thirsty for this wine. And I will give that to you. I will give this wine to you. I will share it with you. And then Maulana says, Man khamusham khaste galu. I am silent because my throat is weary. Why is it weary? Because I'm trying to capture the infinite in finite words. And that's not possible. I've exhausted myself trying to put in something that's cannot be expressed in words. I'm trying to put that into words. And that's tiring me out. But you say, you go on. Now, that companion, Maulana's telling that companion, could be Husamuddin Chalabi. Again, you have the breath of David. To Dawood, Dami, you have the breath of David. And this is the story of Dawood, or David, alayhi salam. He would chant, he would sing, and all the mountains would echo his singing. Mountains would join him in praising God. Now Maulana says, I am just like that mountain who's moved by your praise, by your singing. So the mountain that looks solid, looks heavy, but inside, when that breath of David reaches this mountain, that mountain is moved and is intoxicated, just like me. When your light shines on me, when your praise reaches me, I am gone. I am intoxicated. I'm just like that mountain which is moved from its place. Man chukoham rafte zeja. And that's again Maulana's ending this ghazal, which is all about silence. Again, Maulana ends it with a note on silence. This bewilderment, hayrat. You're so overcome with hayrat that there is no room for saying anything anymore. Just like Maulana says, Ablahan and Zanan dast, for those women who were so bewildered in looking at Joseph, they cut their fingers. Instead of cutting oranges, they cut their fingers. Likewise, it is with me. I'm so bewildered here that I can't say anything because of what I've seen. So yeah, that's Maulana's note on silence. Any words on silence? Any comments? Oh yes, Ashfaq.
To break the words from Masnavi regarding silence came to mind, saying that Khamoshi Bahras to Guftan Ham Chuju Bahr Miju ya Tura Jura Maju. It says
Allah.
so like that. It's that it is seeking you. So why are you seeking speech? And I think that expresses the, like in this ghazal's tone also is in the same, like I'm going there and it's pulling me, it's drawing me, that kind of energies. And also one thing regarding the mirror, he said, I am a mirror, I am a mirror. He said twice in that. So that recalls the hadith, al-mu'min mir'atul mu'min. And with the meaning that al-mu'min, the divine name al-mu'min, and then the mu'min, the believer. And also it can see believers are mirrors of believers. I think that hadith you recited early in the early part in fihi part of today's this thing. So both meanings I think here come. And one more, and the next verse he says that whatever I get from the Sultan, half is for me and I distribute. So this recalls the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ saying that Allahul Mu'ti wa Anal Qasim. God is the giver and I'm the distributor. So like Maulana is also in the same way. He's giving, he's being given, and then he's distributing the blessings and the divine gifts.
Allah, indeed. And it's also the sama, right? You know, you receive it from heaven, you give it. Yeah, exactly.
What did you just say about sama? Receive it from sama?
Yeah, receiving the gifts from heaven and then distributing in a sense to earth. So you have this also in this bait. What reaches me from the Sultan, half from me and half is for you. So the person who's receiving gifts from heaven is also sharing that with everyone else. So being in that relationship with God, it's not selfish because you radiate that light. You also give that light to others. Oh yes, Ashfaq.
I think it from the Masnavi it says Ma chukuhi monida dharmazitu. Like
Allah,
we are just
Allah.
mountains, and the echo in us is from. And then moved, we say. No, I was moved. We say it was a moving poem. Like that. It's literally he's just putting it in the mountain, and I'm moved. Emotional movement. The emotion itself means something moving and motion, movement.
Yeah, Allah. Ma chukuhi moneda dharmazitost. We're just like the mountain, and the echo from us is from you. Exactly. Ma chunai mo nava dharmazitost. We're like the flute, and our melody is from you. Ma chu shatranjim and dar bordomat. We're just like chess pieces. When we're victorious, when we're defeated, bordomat ma zetoste khoshsifat. Our victory is from you. Our defeat is also from you. Ma hame shiran vali shir alam. We're just like lions, but lions on a flag. Ma hame shiran vali shir alam. Hamlashan az bad bashad dam bilam. When that lion on a flag marches forward, it's because of the wind that's moving that lion. Hamlashan payda wa napayda ast bad. That lion moving forward, it's visible, but the wind is invisible. Jan fadaya ansha napayda ast bad. And may our life be sacrificed for that which is invisible. So that wind which moves, and it's invisible, but yes, the movement of the leaves, that's visible. So yeah, may Allah Ta'ala grant us all a portion of that silence and polish our hearts to become mirrors to reflect His beauty, His glory, and to be moved just like those mountains by this breath of His love.